Hello, colleagues and friends. Welcome back to our weekly podcast. We are Think Catalyst. This is podcast number 7, and I'm here with my business partner, Vivek Kuchibotla. We have an interesting topic today, which we are titling One Road to Agency Hell. And this is all about why advertisers should never run their own agency search project and leave it to consultants who are much more versed and much more prepared to do this. Vivek, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well. It's getting cold in Chicago, but aside from that, everything's good.
Awesome. You and I know about agency hell, don't we? And we have a lot to share with our colleagues and friends in the CMOs and marketing community.
I think most advertisers will have made a visit to agency hell at some point in their career, and it's not a great place to be.
So
Um,
if you're a chief marketing officer or a marketing director, there does come a time in your career, probably more than once, when you are faced with the decision to change agencies for whatever reason. Most of the time, it's because either the agency is not performing or the business is not performing, and you need to make a change to get the business going, bring in some fresh thinking, fresh talent, etc. This is again something that happens in chief marketing officers and marketing directors' careers, but there's a lot of issues behind that because the idea of going to pitch and running a review has come under a lot of scrutiny over the last couple of years. I would say the last 5 to 10 years. Why don't you say a few things about that, Vivek?
well, I think before just want to dig in a little bit more into the situation of agency hell, where your agency is not working and you're stuck with them. Um, but actually making the decision that you want to move on or you need a different agency is not something that happens overnight. There's a lot of discussions, a lot of reorganizations, a lot of finger pointing, a lot of blame shifting, and just a lot of drama that goes on that's associated with agency hell before you actually get to the point where you've built a case and you can actually move on from your current agency. And I think the point here is that while all of this is happening, your competitors are out there competing and building their brand while you're sort of distracted with this this whole situation you're stuck in. So it's not a place where you want to find yourself. But I think as we look at the market, there seems to be quite a lot of people who are stuck in this situation. If we're to judge by the average length of advertiser agency relationship, which is down to 3 years.
Yeah.
If we're to judge by um, how advertisers are more and more preferring to work on a per project basis, and if we're to judge by the fact that agencies are not being paid very well, when you don't pay a lot of money for something, it's because you don't place a high value on it. There's no other reason, actually. So the symptoms are not great. The circumstantial evidence is there, and there seem to be a lot of people stuck in agency hell. How do we get out of it?
A lot of pressures on cost, Vivek, and lowering cost. And yet you and I have lived this, and at the same time, when the magic happens and not just a great campaign, but great work comes together, great thinking about what to do with the brand, and the brand turns around, it's amazing. The agency is highly valued, is an important strategic partner. And I think that is less and less the perception and the case and the value that advertisers put on their agencies. Pitches become more important because there's a risk associated as well when you bring in a new agency and you decide to make an agency change. So a little bit of the background, a little bit of what are the issues around agency hell, and ultimately how to avoid them. Anything else that you want to add to that?
So no, now we've kind of arrived at the point where we're saying, okay, we need a new agency.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, how do you go about finding a new agency? And then the further question is, should the advertiser actually be in charge of organizing and running the pitch?
Yeah.
And what is your opinion regarding that?
So let's first answer the latter part of the question, and then we'll go back to who should be doing this. So,
Okay.
My experience has been that when advertisers run pitches on their own, it's usually not the best process. And there are a number of reasons behind that, which we'll go through right now. When a consultant runs the process, most of the time things run better. And the consultant is a third party hired by the advertiser in most cases to run a review, run it professionally, and run it so everything is covered and all the bases are covered in terms of what it entails to run a review. But let's go on with why I think, and reason number one as to why marketers should not be running their own pitches. And reason number one, and probably the most important one, is really no one at the company, at the at the advertiser firm, at the company, not marketing, not procurement, really has the in-depth knowledge of the agency business, the talent, the specialties, the capabilities, the credentials, the conflicts, who is moving around in the market. And that knowledge is critical at the beginning in identifying which profile agency you want to select. There are a lot of agencies in the market, and no one's here to say they're good or they're bad. It's how do you find the agency or a number of agencies to participate in your review that best fit the profile of agency that you may need going in the future. And that is critical, and that's something that marketing and procurement doesn't know how to do, but a consultant will do and is able to do very well.
I think this the advertising market is particularly fluid because it's all about people, and it changes constantly, and people move around, and an agency can become a large agency on the back of one account win, and another agency can be dealt a death blow basically by losing a piece of business. Some famous advertising person, I think, said once, I can't remember his name, but I think he said every agency is one phone call away from bankruptcy. And it's the absolute truth. So it's a very particular industry, and you really don't understand it if you haven't spent a lot of time inside it, working on the agency side of the business. And if you're not currently in touch with what's going on, because you may have knowledge from 10 years ago, but that knowledge is no longer worth anything because there's been so many changes.
Yeah.
And nowhere, literally nowhere within the advertiser is there anyone who has updated knowledge on what's going on in the market. So
Lots
you're
of
going in
change.
blind.
Yeah, and there's lots of changes. There's lots of specialization. The business has changed significantly over the last, and even faster over the last 5, 10 years.
I think just as an interesting comment, how old is TikTok? TikTok might be 5 years old.
5, 6 years old, yeah.
5 years old. TikTok has sort of changed the rules of the game in a lot of ways. And it's just an example of how much things change, how quickly they change, and change comes out of nowhere in this industry.
Yeah.
So you got to be close to it. And you got to know what's going on. I think that's the main point.
Reason number 2, agencies are absolutely truthful. They will tell you exactly what they do and how they work and to win the account. Right, Vivek?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, with most agencies, in a new business context, they will answer yes even before you ask the question. Uh,
They can do
um,
everything. They're able
they
to
can
do
do
everything.
everything. They can do it great. They've done it forever, and you know what? They'd be happy to do it for you.
Okay, so
And
I've done a lot of pitches, and you've done a lot of pitches, and well, not willingly and not in a bad way. Agencies tend to really hype up their stories and their credentials and what they do and what they can't do. And they usually can tell you more about what they can do, and they don't tell you what they can't do. And let's be honest, you're going to make a big decision. You're going to invest a lot of money. It's not just the agency fee, it's your whole marketing budget. And we'll talk about that later because that's the big risk. But you want to make sure that the agency that you're profiling really has the capabilities and really can do the job that you need to do. And if you've been in the business, and most marketers have not, and procurement people have not, they won't be able to tell the difference that much. Whereas a consultant, beyond finding out, who's fibbing a little bit here, but what the consultant really does is really dimensionalize and put into place the real capabilities of an agency, what they're able to do, how the cases that they are presenting are meaningful to potentially the work that they're going to be doing with you. So very critical in filtering out, the real from the propped up,
the fluff. The objective here is in no way to crap on agencies. Okay, I think we need to understand that they're under huge new business pressure, and they're terrified of being disqualified from any given pitch because they don't have a specific capability. So their philosophy is generally, well, I'm going to say I have it, I'm going to win the business, and then I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to subcontract it, I'm going to bring it on board once I have the business. So this is not some massive misrepresentation that they're doing. It's just they're struggling to survive, and they're under huge pressure. And because of that, they will basically promise you anything. Right. So I'm trying to be nice. I've been there. Yeah. I've made those promises. So
absolutely,
it's just it's not a knock at the agencies. It's just, this is reality. We got to deal with it.
Reason number 3, and we've talked to a lot of marketing directors and CMOs, etc. And it's interesting how many say, well, I know the agencies. I know a lot of people. I can check with my friends and colleagues, and I'm in a WhatsApp group with other marketers where we talk about agency performance. I know the market. I can make a decision.
That's not smart. An agency can be, once one agency can have a very happy client on one account, and another client who is miserable on another account.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of reasons that explain this duality. So you can never actually get a feel for the whole agency based on what one person is saying to you.
Right.
Um, some reasons for this. Um, Maybe the agency has a particular strength or a skill set that is really good for one type of client and not good for another type of client. Um, Different people run accounts. You could have a really smart account leader on one piece of business, and that'll make the agency look good. And that same agency will have a not so strong account leader on another piece of business, and that'll make the agency look bad. So it's always a people business. Um, One account could be the most important account at the agency. Therefore, the agency will do anything for that account. Another account could be a small agency, doesn't get that much service, and therefore the perception is different. Um, One account can be a global account. Therefore, there's a whole structure around the globe that's set up just to service that account. Another account might not have it. One account might have a clear functioning work process, and another account is sort of making it up as they go along. You get different readings on the same agency from different people. So you really can't trust what one person's reference of an agency is.
I've met
A lot of things
numerous,
going on.
I've met numerous CMOs that were very happy with an agency working on one advertiser, and they were extremely unhappy with the same agency in another advertiser. So it's not necessarily cut and dry in terms of how that relationship. And frankly, as much as I have a lot of friends who have said to me, recommend me for a job, etc. I am very careful with how I recommend people that I know are closer to me, because you may know them in one way in a friendship, but you don't know them how they are professionally or in other situations. Exactly the same is it works with happens with agencies. So just be careful. We're not saying, by the way, that you shouldn't use that as a reference. That may be a reference that you wanna check with some people. But that's not the way you make the decision. And I would venture to guess, as my last point, you ask 10 people about how they feel about the same agency. 5 will tell you they're good, and the other 5 will tell you they're bad. So what does that
Pretty
mean?
much, pretty much. And just to refer back to point number one, where we said that things were constantly changing in this industry. So a reference from an agency 6 months ago that was a good reference might not be worth anything
Today.
because the agency just lost a key player or a key account, and something's changed.
Right.
So for what it's worth. Let's go on to reason number 4. Can I do this one?
Oh,
This is one of my
absolutely.
favorites.
Oh,
This is
yeah,
one of my favorites.
absolutely.
How many times have we heard advertisers complain that, the agency brought in all their senior people and they did a great presentation, and then once I awarded them the business, I never saw those people again, and all I see are a bunch of junior people running around in circles? Well, yeah, agencies are master showmen. They know how to do new business. They know how to put on a show and dazzle prospects. This is their business. I mean, this is how they win business. The thing is, very, very few advertisers can actually see through the show and see what really is going to be delivered by the agency. So if you as an advertiser fall for the bait and switch, and it happens all the time, well, it's kind of your fault. And you should have had someone sitting next to you to guide you through the minefield and tell you, hey, don't take this part of the show too seriously, because it's really not going to impact your business. But people love a show, I guess, and agencies will put on a show. So
You had to bring
beware
up
of the show.
you had to put up and bring up reason number 4, Vivek, because you were an advertiser. You were on the client side many years ago, so you will have seen it.
But
Unfortunately, and what?
Can I just make one small confession?
Yeah.
As someone who's worked in training and storytelling, I help them put on the show. I know the tricks on how to put on a show, right? So I know when they're putting on a show. And as someone who helps them put on a show, I am saying beware of the show.
Right.
Small confession.
Right. Sure.
I'll never get hired by an agency again for a storytelling workshop.
No, look, and there's reasons why also this will happen, and there's a lot of bait and switch. It also comes down to the final negotiation and how much resources are paid for. If you are going to negotiate the agency down significantly later on, you're going to lose out on better talent and the right resources. There's a number of reasons around that, but the consultant properly doing their work can help advertisers, guide them through that minefield, suggest ideas, how to really dimensionalize value, bring a lot of the issues up front that can be discussed and ironed out and hopefully avoided. When the rubber hits the road, we got to actually get the work done now, and we have to do the campaign. So
absolutely.
You want to do reason number 5 too?
No, you take that one.
Okay. All right. Well, I've been in many pitches.
I know.
Most of them last over 3 months, Vivek. And some reviews, especially in the media side, last 6, 7, 8 months. Okay. So they take a long time, and there's a lot of work, and it consumes a lot of resources, and it consumes a lot of time. And if you're an advertiser and you are running pitches in addition to doing your marketing job, you're probably not going to do either one very well. It takes a lot of time, and it's going to distract you from what you really are supposed to do. And so hiring a consultant who will run the program with a timetable, with a brief, with the proper checkpoints, and who will do the work for you and will report into you is a much better approach. And it's frankly not just very efficient, it's very effective. Both.
Managing we did a $20 million pitch last year. And it took us 3 months of work.
Yeah.
Basically. So just imagine an advertiser doing that amount of work for 3 months and not focusing on what they're being paid to do, which is to build a business. It's a massive distraction. And we knew what we were doing. Factor in the stop start, I made a mistake, let me correct it. Factor in that always exists when you're doing something that you're not familiar with. And this can be a huge resource distraction.
Right.
But it's not a good thing.
Awful. Go to the last reason.
The last one is just sort of a summary of the 5 points that we've put on the table so far. There's not enough knowledge at the company about the industry. Agencies will say and do anything. They'll say yes to everything and hide their areas of opportunity. References are not trustworthy. Agencies are showmen. They'll put on a show. They will fool you. And pitches will take a lot of time. So these are all pitfalls. This is a huge minefield that we've described to you. So given this minefield, we get to point number 6. Given all of these dangers that we've described to you, do you really want to put the totality of your marketing budget in the wrong hands? And I say the totality of the marketing budget because your agency is the point guard of your marketing monies. It's the pilot, to put it to describe it in some way. So if the agency is not a good agency, you've basically put everything else at risk. If the pilot's not good, the plane can crash.
Yeah.
So do you really want to do that? Do you want to take that risk? I don't think it's worth it. I think it's a really high risk. And it's not only about the business. It's about your bonus. It's about your career. It's about your reputation. There's a lot at stake.
Imagine that.
There's a lot at stake.
That is, it's huge. You know, it's the whole marketing budget. It's your career. It's your bonus. It's a lot. Too many things. And
just imagine.
There's no magic bullet, by the way. There is no magic bullet. Okay, but the chances of you significantly improving your business because you're making a very smart decision about how you approach your next communications partner, be it creative, media, digital, or any other specialty, will make all the difference. Will make all the difference.
Absolutely. So it's just to summarize, it's dangerous. It's not advisable for clients to run their agency search. The truth of the matter is only an expert can help you navigate the minefield, and it is a minefield.
So as you go down the road of decisions you need to make about your communication partner and you get to a door that says agency hell, don't take that door. Avoid that route. Avoid what we just went through now. Consider strongly a consultant. There's numerous ones, good ones. Usually they're people that have been in the business at the agency side, know the pitfalls, and know what to look for and how to guide you. That's their job.
Absolutely.
That is podcast number 7. Thank you for hearing us. Subscribe, like us, share.
Comment.
I think comment. Yeah, absolutely. I think all of our content is useful. It's the tips. Write to us and give us a ring at Think Catalyst if you think that you would like to have some more information. And you have other thoughts. Glad to help you. See you next week, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.